Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Don Blight. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, Don, excited to be here. Another week of next gen. Should have thought something.
Yep, you done it. Yep. Good job. That was one of your weeks. Also here, Ciaran Marchant.
What's up, Samurais?
What's up? You gotta say it like with a...
I'm not that... You know what? No,
you gotta get the growl in?
I'm not doing Keanu a disservice by being like, what's up, Samurai? Like that?
Whoa, what's up, Samurai?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dude.
Well, that's crazy.
Bill, Ted, I can't remember what character I play. One of them. Yeah, so today on the show, we're going to be talking about a bunch of Cyberpunk because obviously Cyberpunk had a bunch of news drop over the last week. They had their Final Night City Wire, and all sorts of stuff was coming out of that. And then I finished a bunch of games. Kieran's finally got his Xbox. And I'm sure he loves it. We'll find out soon. I actually don't know. So it's exciting. But first, let's go to Cyberpunk. So, Cyberpunk got, it's Final Night City Wire. I'm sure Ash is going to throw out is it though? It's supposedly supposed to hit the...
Is it though?
There you go. Thank you. It's supposedly supposed to hit the release date.
I'm serious. Is it though?
Yeah. I don't think...
It's just a bit worrying.
I mean, it probably is because they won't make another one if they delay it unless it's like really delayed.
I saw the social media post something like, "Oh, it's 19 days remaining." I'm like, "You guys are pretty game still, I guess." For after the last couple of times where they have been in the dark about the delays, so yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, the game is technically gold. Remember?
Yeah.
What they're working on right now is a day one patch.
Yeah, well,
it was technically gold last time.
The problem, as we discussed last time, is that it was apparently running horrible on current gen consoles.
Yeah.
Or presumably, at worst, on the base PS4 and base Xbox, which I think adds credence when we discuss the two consoles they showed off a bit later. But so yeah, it went gold, and I would presume if they were only shipping it to PC, I still think it would have just hit that original release date. You know, like it got delayed because of trying to make sure it works on old gen. All right, so let's first thing, massive gameplay trailer. How long is this gameplay trailer? It's like fucking ages. 5 minutes, 13 seconds. It's a long one.
Huge.
It's a huge trailer that they call it official gameplay trailer, but it's more of like here's a little bit of everything that you can do in Cyberpunk 2077. And I gotta say, like, epic trailer, but I can't help. It's one of those things where I know we're only a couple of weeks out from release, but I'm still watching this trailer going, nah. You know, like a lot of it seems too good to be true. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like when you see a CGI trailer for a game, you're like, okay, well, it's not actually going to play like that, or a little bit of trepidation about these sorts of things. That's how I feel about this game, but I mean, supposedly this is how it's...
From watching this, but then also on top of it, reading people's previews from their, like, I don't know, a lot of larger media outlets got about 16 hours worth of gameplay time with the current version of the game, and from everything they're saying, it sounds pretty... Like, this is pretty on point. Like, it's not like it's smoke and mirrors trying to make itself look better. Apparently, it is just this good. A lot of people says this looks like it should be setting the bar for RPGs going forward.
Yeah. Well, Ash, what do you make of the gameplay?
Looks pretty. Looks like there's a lot of variety of stuff to do. So whether it actually captures that or not, I guess we'll find out in, what'd you say, 19, 18 days?
Yeah,
December 10th. So when this comes out Monday, it's less than that. So I mean, it's basically 2 weeks by the time Monday, right? Like roughly. I think the thing that gets me watching the gameplay is a lot of the animations and stuff that are happening. I'm like, is that a cutscene or is that not a cutscene? You know, like there's lots of moments where just stuff is happening up, like, or is that like developer cam where that you won't be able to do that in the real game, like get that sort of footage and whatever. And I guess the other thing would be that this game looks really, really pretty, but obviously they would be showcasing it with the highest quality version of the game, you know? So, gotta wonder how it'll look and run on all the different variations of stuff. But You still super excited, Ciaran? You're the one who's, I feel,
I'm massively excited. I've dropped the ball a little bit here. I've only watched the gameplay trailer. I haven't watched the full Night City Wire, but I will be. But I'm still massively hyped on this game. Like, literally, this is my biggest anticipated game for this year, and it coming out on December 10th. It delays it for Game of the Year talks and stuff like that. But I'm very, very excited to play it. Like, I'm like, this is a game where I feel like I could just sit and play this for many, many weeks straight, not worry about consoles, which is kind of sad.
Maybe it's good that it's not in the discussion because it sounds like everybody's going to be playing it till the end of 2021. So
yeah, definitely.
Maybe. So another thing that dropped in Night City Wire was they showed off a video where it was a mission. I think it was just like a side mission or whatever. But during the mission, they cut between both Xbox One X and Xbox Series X gameplay. Now, I'll say that I think it's obviously noticeable, the improvement on the Series X. I also think the frame rate looks a lot better on the Series X compared to the One X. But I was impressed with like how good the One X looks to be running the game. And they show it off in both driving cars around and like some combat and just generally walking around areas. Like it looks pretty good. But the one concern I have is obviously, and they did say that a PS5 version of this is coming as well, like a PS5 to, I presume, PS4 Pro would be the comparison.
Yeah.
One of those is supposed to be coming on the way soon as well. But obviously, they haven't shown what the game looks like on Xbox One or One S or a base PS4. And that is what it sounds like where the most of the trouble was. And I'm still a bit worried. I mean, I'm not worried for myself, obviously, but I'm just a little bit worried for other people. Yeah.
I'd be worried about people playing it on the base versions of these. Like, if you were, if you're like Buddy Watson a couple of weeks ago and you still had a original PlayStation 4, or if you have like a
blow it up
edition Xbox One, I don't see your consoles running this very well. It's interesting. I guess that you could get some home by the fact that the PC specs for this game as minimum specs are extremely low. They are surprisingly low, and maybe that is because this game is also going to be running on those two consoles as well.
Yeah. Very optimized.
You could see that as hopefully a bit of a benefit. It's just there's so many constraints now with that old hardware that I wonder exactly how that's going to run on the console, and it's definitely not going to be. Look, I would still honestly, if I would still be experiencing it for the first time on those consoles if that was my only option, because this game seems to be one of those games that is going to be not only massive in this industry and massive in the community, but also the fact that I don't think it hurts your chances of experiencing it again if you do get another one of these consoles, or if you get a PC that's well optimized for it. I think there's plenty to do in this game and plenty of options for your characters, that it's not like you're going to be worried about playing the same game twice if you do end up upgrading.
So the PC specs that they put out, which they have a minimum recommended high and ultra, and then they have a ray tracing minimum high and ultra. The basic recommended settings are, I think, surprisingly low. The graphics card recommended is either a GTX 1060 or a 1660 Super. So like that is, but that's just for 1080. It's obviously, if you want to play it the best looking way with all the things, I think there's only going to be a handful of people that actually are playing it that way. And by that, I mean the ray tracing high setting to play it in 4K ray tracing recommends a RTX 3080, as well as like a i7 6700 equivalent CPU as well, which I think the amount of people who are going to have the supercomputers to run this game in 4K, ray tracing enabled, well, not going to be many.
Which would be interesting if the PS5 version and Xbox Series X version do have those capabilities comfortably to do that with a decent frame rate. That makes those consoles even more of a bargain in the end. Like that turns out to make those consoles just even better if they could pull these things off that very expensive PCs aren't able to do. I think This is going to be a very interesting test for the next generation of consoles in many ways. Even if this game wasn't so much optimized for that or made for the next gen, I think it'll still be interesting to see exactly how good things play on those.
I think people have already done the maps, and the current the consoles already do like ray tracing cheaper than what it would cost to like build the equivalent PC at the moment. So, in like money to value, both Xbox and PS5 are quite good. I would presume that when the game comes to PS5 and Xbox, like the proper PS5 and Xbox Series X versions next year, I'd presume it would have like a ray tracing setting where it's like, okay, it runs at 30, like it's probably the ray tracing minimum equivalent of like one of these, and then you'll probably have an option to play it at like ultra PC equivalent without ray tracing enabled. One thing they haven't said in either the Xbox gameplay or anything else so far they haven't said anything about frame rate. So, you know, like the system requirements is like, yeah, this is recommended for this, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't say like ray tracing ultra. It doesn't mention anything about frame rate. The Xbox video, they don't mention frame rate. As I said, I think the Xbox Series X frame rate looks considerably better, in my opinion, watching that. But they haven't mentioned what and if there's any caps or differences to the frame rate between the consoles. Maybe because they still haven't officially like decided if it's a locked frame rate or what's happening. Who knows in the lead up. And the other standout bit from all this news, I thought, was they had this great interview behind the scenes footage of Keanu Reeves doing the role of Johnny Silverhand for the game, and it's very cool to see how much, because obviously he's going to be a big part of the game. They explain how, you know, Johnny is a character who's, you know, his chips put into your character's head, so you have to deal with him all the time, basically. And Keanu Reeves talks about how he had to, you know, record lines for if you choose to be nice to him or you treat him like shit and he's a bit more of an asshole to you. And he did the voice work and then also the motion capture. So it's a full Keanu Reeves experience you're getting. You're not just getting someone else doing the mocap and he's come in to do the voice work. It's all of him. And as he talks about in the video, he explains how, you know, he's done the Matrix. He's experienced with this sort of stuff before. So very cool to see. I'm surprised they don't have I suppose maybe in a different world without COVID, you'd see like Keanu Reeves out doing
more
marketing for this, because he would be like the key person to market this. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more stuff when they get on, like around launch. There'll be, you know, maybe more people, like videos of high profile people playing the game with Keanu. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if your late night talk show hosts aren't having segments where they're playing with Keanu and talking about the game and stuff like that. I could definitely see this game as being a game that has the potential to reach beyond just the gaming community in terms of marketing and presence.
Yeah. You have anything else that stood out to you in all this stuff, Ash?
No. Yeah, I'm just going to experience the game with as little... I haven't really been delving into it much since probably the start of the hype cycle, I think. So, you know, try to not get too hyped or too... hopefully be a bit surprised when we go in. You know? So... I feel like we're a lot more. Even Ciaran seems a lot more like. Is it the delays that's like dampened the excitement, or scared of more delays?
I think it's part of me is just like. Part of me is done being excited for this game. If that makes sense. Like I'm excited for this game, and I'm really like I could probably talk somebody's ear off if somebody asks for an opinion or anything about this game. It's just the fact of. It's been delayed so many times. It's been a long wait. I'm just gonna be relieved when it comes out, and I can press launch on it, and I can start making a character, and I can start thinking about how I'm gonna play the game multiple times before, you know, if I'm gonna eventually go back on console as well as my PC and play a different starting point, and that stuff's really exciting still. And look, I'm still reading coverage and everything for it. It's just my body and I am just over being excited for it to come out. I just want it to be excited to play it. And
you're also bracing because there's still time.
Also true. Also extremely true.
by the time this is up, I'll hopefully have a couple of reviews up. If not, by the time this is up later in the day. But so I've finished Demon Souls. Everyone can cheer and clap for me.
Good job.
There,
not just finished.
Is there a death counter?
No, if there was, it would be quite high.
0 out of 10.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 8.5 as my final score. Basically, my critiques are, so obviously it's a Souls game. I feel like at this stage everyone knows what Souls games are. This is the game that invented a genre, so it deservingly, I think, needed this remake. So a lot of more people could, like myself, could get the chance to try it out without having to like plug in a PS3 and like deal with the choppy frame rate, the extensive load times, and all these other things that I was just like, I fucking hate all of that. So it is a game that I think is really well deserved. I think a lot of the things that show its age is what kind of brings it down. So it uses a weird system called world tendency, where FromSoft never used in any games going forward, and for obvious reasons. And I kind of wish Bluepoint in the remake had kind of got rid of it, because it's archaic and stupid, and it's the one thing that I'm like, you could have just gone without that. But I guess they held it in case people who love the game for warts and all. But basically, world tendency is in any of the game's worlds, if you die in human form, because in Demon Souls, if you die as a human, you come back in soul form, and then when you're in soul form, you have 50% health. But if you die continuously while in human form, the soul tendency of that world will drift towards black, and that makes the game harder. So basically, you're punished for dying. Like, the game gets harder the more you die in human form. If you die in soul form, you're not punished. You just come back. You can die a million times. So basically, I played the game 99% in soul form because I didn't want to.
As I think everybody just kind of, if you read tips and guides for this game, it's just like, okay, first thing you want to do is you want to go die, and then you want to accept the fact that this is your normal state.
Yeah.
Like, soul form is just the way you play this game. Get used to it. Play it like this.
You can get an item that increases the reduction, so you have 75%, which I kept on for like nearly the entirety of the game because I just played that way. But no, it's just a stupid system. I don't see what it really adds. It makes it harder for new players to get in who, like, I knew about this coming in because I've watched Let's Plays before and these sorts of things. So, like, I knew what to be aware of. But if you was a new player and you're like, oh, I just bought a PS5, now's my chance to get into a Souls game. The game doesn't explain the system at all to you. Like, well, I mean, the game doesn't explain fuck
there's
all.
A lot. There's a lot it doesn't explain to you.
Yeah.
Even like the whole Soulsborne and how to Souls form and how to change back into human form is not really explained or brought up anyway. And it's just
a lot of people love how these games are like, oh, it's built around, the water cooler work conversations or Reddit forums and these sorts of things. But I think some of that is fine, but I definitely think the world tendency is just like a stupid system that brings the game down. And then my other major critique would be that some of the boss fights are cool. A lot of them don't hold up to recent Souls standards. Like, there's a couple bosses that literally have like 2 attacks, and they're very easy to just, once you know their 2 attacks, you just know how to like, they're probably some of the easiest fights I think so I've only played Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and now Demon Souls, and then obviously I played like Sekiro for 8 to 10 hours or whatever it was. Beat the first couple of bosses, by the way, everyone. I didn't quit straight away. And so those things are quite easy. There's a couple cool, and then there's a couple other boss fights that weirdly are nothing like the rest of the From Software games, where they're not really fights, they're like puzzles, which is
they have a
weird.
Gimmick to them. Like,
they have like a very key gimmick where you just
Nick.
figure out the gimmick and you can beat them that way, which is something FromSoft didn't continue doing up. And some of them are cool, some of them are kind of lame, and then some of the bosses not very interesting. But like, if you were to play this after having played Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne, where From Software stepped up the enemy design and the AI and the mechanics, and then also a lot of their fights started having like different forms, so you get like a boss's HP down to half. There'll be a cutscene that would transform into another thing, or like pull out a second sword, like to make it feel more epic, and you have to learn different mechanics for the fight or whatever. So I definitely feel like some of the fights show the game's age. But the one plus I have is the major plus is the fact that Bluepoint remade this game, and in general, the level design of each of the world doesn't feel old at all. That shows
it's
how
aesthetically so pleasing.
Yeah,
I'd never call the very gothic nature and the very kind of dark nature to Soulsborne games in general isn't something I'd ever normally call beautiful or ever be happy to look at and explore. But just and it's down to the power of the PS5 as well as the work Bluepoint's done. This game for me looks stunning all the time. It looks really good.
It is, and it runs in 60 frames per second, which is a life change. Up until this point, no. From Software could never get any of the Soulsborne games on console to hit 60, or sometimes they struggle to even get a solid 30. And pair that with the fact of extensive load times all of their games have had, and this game has a much better frame rate. It's beautiful. It takes literally 2 seconds to load between death or transferring to a different world. All of that is a lot of ways it gets me excited for, I guess, Elden Ring as well, because I'm okay, if Elden Ring's a next gen game and From Software can bring over some of this stuff, because I hate I think I get more annoyed about losing in Souls games because then it would be followed by waiting a minute. I'm
I will say, and I'd like to say this as a general kind of, it's not a bad, well, it is a bad thing, but it's just because of how great load times are now on consoles. My pats of dogs has been significantly lowered because when I die in things or fast travel in things, I don't have time to pat my dog.
Yeah, my Twitter checking time has also similarly decreased because I don't have load screens to check Twitter in anymore. So,
yep.
But yeah, Demon Souls, great game if you're willing to obviously put up with the dying. But I feel like everyone knows if they like these Souls games or not at this point. If not, try one. Honestly, that's one thing I'll say. If you're too scared to try these games, the biggest hurdle you have is just accepting that you'll die a lot, and then not being afraid of dying, and then you can start playing a bit more YOLO.
And there is an awesome sense of progression and stuff though to it. That's very nice in terms of traversing the levels and learning and finding shortcuts and stuff like that with it. I think is very good.
Yeah. Also, it only took me 23 hours to beat, which apparently was
it's pretty good.
Fast. I was okay, well, I farmed at one point because I found I got halfway through the game and I found a good farming point for XP, and I was okay, well, I'm going to farm up a couple levels here because I'm happy to slightly decrease the challenge for myself if I can. All right, and then I'll have a review for Spider-Man Miles Morales as well. I'm going to give it an 8. I think the story in this is better, more concise, package with less of the fluff than the original game, but obviously it's still it's a what do you want to call it? Expansion, a side project, a
spin-off.
Yeah, it feels weird. Whatever we call these things now.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a spin-off expansion. You know what I mean? Uncharted Lost Legacy is a full game as well. And
it's I don't know if you want to call it an extra chapter or
it feels like you want to call it a budget title, but it's not budget price. So
it's not budget either.
Budget experience.
Well, it is cheaper than a full game. So
slightly.
If you don't buy it with the remaster.
Yeah, so. But it's still what, $60? How much is it?
Yeah, that's assuming the full game's 100. Yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, I bought the Ratchet and Clank remake for the same price. Game prices.
Wouldn't that mean it's the same?
I know, it's hard to work out. Anyway, Spider-Man's good. I feel like everyone knows that. And then the last thing I'll have, I got a review in progress for. Maybe I'll have a final score soon. I don't know. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Campaign was surprisingly pretty fun. It does the thing that I think that other Call of Duty games do, where by the time I got to the end, it did some cool, interesting things with the story, depending and there's multiple endings. And I was oh, this is so great, but it doesn't double down on certain stuff. And without spoiling it, there was some slight anti-Reagan stuff put in here if you go down a certain path. And I'm oh, are we going there? Are we And then they're no, we don't, because our game's still marketed by the American Army. So we can't go too far down that path. I'm still playing the multiplayer a bit. I can't decide if I hate it or love it at this stage. I think I'm enjoying Deathmatch and the maps in this one more than last year's Modern Warfare. Like, I think the maps are a lot tighter, better experiences. But then the older other modes, I still just think are just a hodgepodge mess. Like, there's one mode that's basically Warzone's plunder mode, but like instead of the same sort of stuff, it's you're like finding uranium and then you're taking it to sites to like help set off dirty bombs, and it feels like a hodgepodge of just Warzone elements chucked in. So I can't decide if it's good or bad, or I just suck at it. I'm undecided at this point. And then there's a couple of other modes, like I think it's called the Domination or something, which is the more like, oh, we're trying to be semi-battlefield. We've got like tanks and shit, but the maps still aren't huge, and you're fighting over one objective, and there's a sniper up on the hill, and there's a tank sitting there, so you're just going to get fucking headshot or blown up. And I'm like, stop trying to be Battlefield. Like, just, you don't do it as good as Battlefield does Battlefield, so just fucking stop. But no, the other thing I'll say for that is the triggers, because I played on PS5, not as refined as I think we'll get if we get like a Killzone, a Resistance, or like a Sony first person shooter. But I really wasn't sure if I was liking it at first, and now I kind of never want to not play without. Like, I think about playing Apex Legends if they add it, and like the variety of guns in that game between like energy weapons and these sorts of things. I'm like, oh wow, that would feel so cool. I thought it was going to make me worse at playing, but I think I've just got used to it now, where I kind of like it. Like, letting off a semi-automatic feels different to firing a shotgun and whatever. Like, it's interesting. So
it'd be cool for people who are good with firearms or good with, or have that kind of military background, if like those kind of things help like people count ammo in their head, like know how many shots are left in their gun because of how the trigger feels and stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool, kind of different.
Maybe they could do that. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, because it definitely does feel like this is the tension in the triggers is like stage one. Like, it doesn't feel as refined as like the stuff in Astro's Playroom. Obviously, that feels like ultra refined for everything you do in it. So I don't know. Anyway, Call of Duty is pretty good this year, at least the campaign. Give Raven a chance to do another one, please. The fact that they only stepped in to do the campaign after apparently there was a bunch of behind the scenes turmoil, and they were like, hey, can you do it? And they're like, yeah, no problem, we got this. And then they probably did it in like less than a year. Kind of shows how good that team at Raven is, because they're basically always just left as the B team. Like, they work on every Call of Duty, but they're always like not the lead developer until they did the campaign for this one. So interesting. Let's jump into some news. So we're going to do the Game Award predictions episode next week, and we're going to do predictions for the
exciting
the winners, and we're going to do our predictions, of course, and annual at this stage predictions for, of course, what trailers and things we think will be announced. Also known as the Ciaran predicts something like Batman will show up. Oh no, that happens. So maybe they show more.
I mean, there is no Batman game this year, so next year in development.
Well, but they could show a trailer. I'm just putting it.
Isn't Gotham Knights next year?
Yeah, there's no Batman in that. He's
How
dead.
do you know? Yeah, you say that now. Fucking.
Well,
they're certainly not going to spoil that in a trailer at the Game Awards.
I think the jury's out on.
Psych is alive.
The jury's out on that one. Thought I'd run down
this mystery member of the Court of Owls over here, guys.
We're all waiting on GTA 4 remastered. So
that's coming.
Let's do it. Hey, cousin, come bowling.
No, please don't.
Let's do it. That'd be great.
Tension in the PS5 triggers so you can aim that bowling ball properly.
No.
Yes, exactly.
The only hope you've got of that is if they're going to put that inside GTA 5 online. So, like, you go into someone's house, you boot up a console, and you play GTA 4 inside of GTA.
You're just walking into random people's houses? Oh, right, in GTA. Okay, no, that's fine.
In GTA.
Not in real life, no. You can have the game, you just can't play it in your own house at your own console. You got to find somewhere else to play it.
So I thought I'd run down just the key nominations from the Game Awards, of course. So the Game of the Year nominees are Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. Was there anything in particular that stood out as like, oh wow, I'm surprised that didn't get nominated, or wow, that got nominated? I was surprised that.
No, I think that is a very solid list.
It's a very solid list.
That's a great list, and I think now that we have the knowledge of last year's Sekiro winning, is very much a like. Even though 90% of me is like, okay, Last of Us has this on lock, it'll be interesting to see if like something like Hades comes and steals it, which is where my heart is like, man, that game's amazing. Like, yeah, it's interesting.
All I know is I can't remember if in previous years I've always played. I can't remember how many things I played, but I'm glad that this year I can look at the Game of the Year nominees, at least for their Game of the Year awards, and go, okay, I've played all that. Good. Like I've done a good job this year. Some years I'm like, I haven't played that.
So have I, which is somewhat weird. Oh no, I haven't. Doom Eternal I have not played. Whoops.
Rip.
Better download the Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, it's on there now, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I saw it yesterday.
Best Game Direction went to Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Last of Us Part 2. I think Half-Life Alyx is one thing I saw a lot of people calling out as like...
Yeah, there's a few I've seen a lot of people bring up. Half-Life Alyx, what's it called?
I don't know.
Ori and the Will-O-Wisps.
All right.
No, Ori and the... Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That Will-O-Wisp is correct.
Yeah. Flight Simulator and Neo 2, I think, is the other one that
Neo 2.
super fans have been bringing up. The same people who all voted for Sekiro last year. It's like...
No. People are like, just got to nominate a real gamer's game where you die a million times every year. Look, Doom Eternal's in there. That game's not easy. Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of call for Half-Life Alyx, but I think this also comes down to the fact that there's a nomination panel of X amount of people, right? And if all of them hadn't played Half-Life Alyx, it wasn't going to get nominated for Game of the Year. You know what I mean? Like, people had to have played it for it to get nominated. So that's just where the cookie crumbles sometimes. Best Narrative, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, The Last of Us Part 2. I think it's pretty cool that Hades makes it in there because obviously whenever we was discussing it, I always brought up how great the narrative is for a roguelike and that. And I have no idea what the fuck 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is.
Yeah.
That's like this year's equivalent of Disco Elysium for a lot of people who were like, what the fuck is Disco Elysium until it started winning awards. But developed by Vanillaware. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's like a
RTS.
Yeah, it's like a
side scroller.
Best narrative, eh? Fucking hell, go off.
The game is divided between adventure side scrolling segments and real time strategy battles and follows 13 high school students in a fictionalized 1980s Japan who are dragged into a futuristic war between mechas and hostile kaiju in a non-linear narrative. So, sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Sounds like some weeb shit, but that's fine. Appreciate some weeb shit, I guess. Best score on music. I want to read this one out because it's one tiny thing. So Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of Wisps, Last of Us Part 2. Fucking hilarious if Mick Gordon wins for Doom Eternal, considering they've had a breakup since then. So there would be like an awkward acceptance speech. You know what I mean? Like, here, you've won for Doom Eternal. He gets up there. He's like, fuck Bethesda. They ruined my music, but it won. But they still ruined it.
The music was so good there, but they ruined it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't return to do that recent DLC. So, best performance: Ashley Johnson as Ellie, Last of Us Part 2. Laura Bailey as Abby, Last of Us Part 2. Dasuki Tsuji as Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. Logan Cunningham as Hades and Hades, and Naji Jeddah as Miles Morales and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Right?
Yeah, this is fun to see the comments for.
Yeah, so everyone was obviously like complaining about Abby.
People are still upset about that.
Yeah, people are really still upset about that. I did notice. Like, I thought like it disappeared until I opened the like replies to some of the tweets. I was like, oh wow, some of you don't have lives. You're still angry like about the Abby thing, hey?
I hope she wins. Like, I actually hope she wins.
I think she probably will. I think it's
between her and Ashley.
You've got a week to decide before you predict it, so you can fluff your pick at the moment. You've got a week to lock it in.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people being like, fuck her, should have been Troy Baker. There you go.
Troy Baker was in the game for all of
Spoilers.
It's like fucking.
Troy Baker's got enough awards. Come on.
Troy Baker has lots of awards.
Best indie game, Carrion, Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout, Hades, Splunky 2, Spiritfarer. I was like, Fall Guys in here I thought was interesting. Obviously, a lot of people, I think when that game came out, everyone would have been like, this is going to be Game of the Year. But then obviously the hype kind of not died off. People are still playing it, but definitely dwindled. So it's not in that Game of the Year. Category, Best Mobile Game, by the way, Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, Pokemon Cafe Mix. I think it's interesting that Genshin Impact and Among Us are both in the mobile category. Among Us is in a couple of, but nonetheless. And Best VR/AR is the last one I think I want to call out. So they've got Dreams, Half-Life Alyx, Marvel's Iron Man VR, Star Wars Squadrons, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. For all the shit support PlayStation's had for VR this past year, they still have 2 nominated games, including Dreams, which is only for a new mode, which I think is quite...
Can't you only play Squadrons on PS... Or is that Oculus as well?
What? No. It's whatever. PC, VR, PSVR.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but I still think, you know what I mean? Like the
still
shit job at supporting it.
It's a shame it's the last ones they'll ever make, but
yeah. It's true. It may be the last ones. Anyway, we'll go through the rest of them next week. We'll do all our predictions. Look forward to that.
The one I do want to bring up.
Yeah.
I saw a bit of people upset about the fighting category. It's got the most random selection of games. It's like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition, One Punch Man, and Hero Nobody Knows, and Under Night Birth EXE late. A lot of people within the fighting community weren't very happy with the nominations.
Why? What's the fighting game that everyone loves?
I can't remember. There was some game that came out this year that was going to EVO that didn't get included, which doesn't make sense. Yet you've got a game that like One Punch Man, which really isn't.
Well, I can explain why.
Game. And two games that came out previous years that just have like better editions.
New better editions, yeah. Well, again, as to the other
it's because of the judging panel. It's because of the
judging panel. And like, I don't think there's an easy answer to this, because I think the moment that Jeff is like, okay, well, next year I'll bring in a panel of like fighting experts to nominate the fighting game, then all of a sudden everyone's going to be like, well, why don't you bring in a panel of first-person shooter super fans people to nominate best shooting game? You know what I mean? And then let's bring in super fans of racing games to do the racing games. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they do. They break it up by categories in the Academy Awards. So
yeah, I mean, he could do it. It's not a bad idea. I just think like once he opens that hole, then that's like you've opened the full can of worms. Whereas at the moment, anytime there's a sort of weird nominations, the answer is always, well, look, it's basically general games press. Maybe there's some hardcore people for certain genres within all of that, but it's supposed to be a pretty good variety of mix of different people. You know what I mean? Like general games press, content creators, whatever type people that are nominating this stuff. So it's to be like a good mix. And every now and then you'll have like a hardcore racing, fighting, whatever. But yeah, I think once you open that can of worms of picking certain people for certain categories, then you have to start doing it for basically every category. I think it makes sense that he has esports people nominate the esports categories, since there's several of them now. It's not just one random like best esports game. He does like all the people and the hosts and the teams and whatever. So that makes sense to have a certain panel do the esports awards, because there's enough of them. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Game and awards. Shout out to Australia's Alana Pierce for being up for Content Creator of the Year.
Just as she announced she's now working at
Santa Monica. Just as she announced she's not a content creator.
Yeah. Well, she'll still be a content creator.
She'll do the podcast, but yeah.
Purely that anymore. She'll just
quite funny.
Go write boy on a text document.
Yeah.
Well, mate.
That's all we do, right?
Just going to call everybody mate.
No, another piece of news that came out this week, as writes Zach Jackson from Well Played. Projekt 007 is a new James Bond game from Hitman developer IO Interactive. After teasing the studio's new project a day prior, overnight Danish developer and publisher announced Projekt 007, an original new game based on the famous spy James Bond. Of course, it's just a teaser. On the announcement, IO Interactive CEO Hakan Abrak said, creating the original Bond game is a monumental undertaking, and I truly believe that IO Interactive, working closely with our creative partners at EON and MGM, can deliver something extremely special for our players and communities. Our passionate team is excited to unleash their creativity into the iconic James Bond universe and craft the most ambitious game in the history of our studio. Obviously, I think everyone loves this. Everyone went, the people that made the last bunch of Hitman games is making a James Bond game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems like a match made in heaven.
I would, yep. I'd also appreciate it if they don't have it related to Daniel Craig or anything to do with that and just have it as a James Bond.
I'm hoping it's a new character. New 007, their own 007.
Yeah.
No, they've specifically said Bond, though.
They've said Bond. Yeah, 100%. So just do 100% a new Bond with like just an independent story for it, and I'm down for it. Like just run for it. Yeah. Listen, do your own Bond, but unlockable skins.
Maybe.
No, stop.
Let me play as George Lazenby.
What if Bond's in it, but you play as a different, like, he's just a mentor or something?
Like, Bond games have so much potential to them, not just with, GoldenEye's the one everybody else, but Nightfire was so much fun on, like, PS2. Like, Nightfire had a great story to it and was, like, I think there was another one just after Nightfire as well that was almost as good. So, I think it was Agent Underfire, maybe? I can't remember the second one. Yeah. But, James Bond has a really good potential. I think they dropped the ball with them having Quantus of Solace, which kind of became...
Is that Quantus?
Action... Quantum Solace?
Quantum of Solace. But it sounded like you said Quantus of Solace, and I was like,
I don't know.
Catch my big jet plane. I guess in Julie Stone over here.
But like that one went weird where it became like a over-the-shoulder third-person shooter. So hopefully they kind of make it more about espionage and being a spy. James Bond.
Yeah, I think we have to presume that if they're making a James Bond game, it's going to lean more heavier into stealth and silent takedowns and.
The interesting thing is when I think of James Bond films, what I think of is set pieces. Which isn't what necessarily IO is known for.
No, I think you can do both though.
As long as they include that as an element of the story.
I think they could do set pieces, but incorporate the set pieces into the gameplay. Because I would say the Hitman series has set pieces within it. You're just the crafter of those set pieces. You're just the one that sets up the dominoes beforehand and triggers them off. And if you don't trigger them off correctly, that's your fuck up. Nobody else's.
Double checking facts. But yeah, so the last couple of things I've done is solely Hitman. So Hitman 1, 2, 3, obviously. They did Hitman Absolution, which I actually liked. And that one was more your typical, more action-orientated, straight-up story Hitman game. And prior to that, they did Kane Lynch 2 Dog Days, which is you're playing a movie action game.
Very much.
And they did Kane Lynch Dead Man, which was even more, you're having a camera follow you, it's like camera shaky, you're playing a fucking criminal underworld game. So they have literally experience in both worlds, I feel. So I think 007 game, the perfect mix is between both. Like I don't want 007 to be, it's just Hitman where you're playing as James Bond and you're walking around and you got random objectives. Like that's basically like a reskin Hitman at that point. Make it story based, make it levels or whatever, and have some of the levels be stealth and incorporate a lot of that Hitman elements, and then have some elements that are massive set pieces. Best of both worlds. I feel like is the way to go. Yeah. By the way, Kane Lynch. Everyone picks on those games. I quite like them. I thought they were kind of
You
fun.
also like Fast and Furious in general, though. So it's
look, I'm not saying I'll give them a high score.
It's in the same ballpark.
But I played them.
It's in the same ballpark.
And I enjoyed my my time with them. Also, everyone hates Hitman Absolution, but I thought that was a...
Really? The Kane and Lynch games are in the same ballpark as Army of Two for me.
Yep, I like those two.
Yeah, they were okay. They were manageable. They were just
like Army of Two
games.
The second one, it's got like the 40th hour or 40th something or whatever. I played that with my friend at the time.
Day or something.
Yeah, I stayed up until like 5 a.m. playing that co-op with my friend at the time. It's probably like a solid 6. But when you're playing some of these games in co-op, like I play Kane Lynch in co-op as well. So I think that like elevates the downfalls of some of these games.
Makes you have more fun out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll find out.
Do they need to include a multiplayer mode?
Nah, fuck off. Don't want that.
Fuck no. Please no.
No.
Multiplayer has me like GoldenEye was like the only good multiplayer.
Yeah. Don't need that.
Just stop.
No.
No.
I feel like if you're going to make a multiplayer James Bond game, someone devotes their time to making a good multiplayer James Bond game. But they should
you make it like free to play and you go like the same route as like a battle royale or something.
But
like
not a battle royale. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. 7 James Bonds get dropped in a room. Last man standing.
Maybe. It's not a bad idea. I mean, it's a funny idea. All right, so let's talk about Ciaran's finally got his Xbox.
I did. Oh, I've like it's so great.
What have you been playing? What are your overall thoughts? What was the experience like? How are you feeling?
I've setup experience was actually awesome. Like setup experience is so nice. Just downloading the app on your phone and just doing everything through the app while it's installing updates. I'm like, man, that was pretty cool. That was pretty nice. Good on you, Xbox. They're two very different sensations, as we've discussed already. And as you mentioned last week, we discussed it. That the PlayStation 5 feels like next gen. PlayStation 5 feels new because it has the controller and the new UI and everything. But the Xbox feels like home, right? Like it's not. I don't have to learn anything on the console. It all just works for me. It's just nothing special or different. And some people might criticize that. Like some people might be like, "Oh, well, that's crap. They need to be new UI. I want a new UI every generation." Whatever. I'm happy with it. Like it's like I like this UI. I enjoy the console as a whole. Awesome. I had a few bugs the first day where I'd like switch apps and the game I would have, like the game I would play would like just close completely, and I'd be like, "The fuck."
I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, no, I did have that day one when I picked it up, but since then it's been absolutely fine. I've literally only been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla on it because I'm actually really enjoying Valhalla like a lot.
Have you played anything else at all?
How soon after did you you got your Xbox? Did you get Valhalla?
I literally like the first thing I did. Yeah. First thing I did as soon as my Xbox loaded. So yeah. No, fuck no.
But you've got
Even
a
though
disc
it has
player.
a disc drive.
You don't have a choice.
I've got a disc drive, so it's just No, it was just as soon as the first thing I did as soon as I started up the Xbox and set it up was go to the store and buy Assassin's Creed and start it down.
Is that all you've played?
That's all I've literally played, and I've downloaded a fuck ton of stuff. Like I've just downloaded, like I've got Forza on there. I think I downloaded just both the Oris just to play. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. I've just went through the game, like the Games Pass list, and went, okay, download. Like there's plenty for me to go back and look at and check out. But yeah, Assassin's Creed is literally all I've played on it so far, which is that game itself is fantastic. But I really like the console. It's like it is as I keep calling it on Twitter, a chunky boy. Like it is out of the like I don't know the PlayStation 5 has like is big, but like. The Xbox Series X is like a brick. Like, it is a solid unit. I kind of wish I had space in my TV unit to stand it up on its end because I think it'd look way better.
Looking at your background there, people watching the video version can spy it. How much room does it have between
above it?
The top, like the roof?
Like none. Like there is this little teeny tiny.
I think you're fine though because obviously you've got sideways, so the fan
that's why if it
venting
was
out sideways to plenty of space.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's why I'm okay with it. So far.
Just cut that shelf out.
Just cut the shelf out.
Yeah.
But then it'd be okay. You know, the thing is, right? It'd be okay for the Xbox to cut the shelf out and stand it up. But
the PS5
I could stand up the PlayStation.
Standing up.
No, I don't think the PlayStation 5 will fit.
No,
it might be too high.
Yeah, so I by the way, if you want to hear me talk about next gen consoles some more, I was on Radio Watson last week with
Radio Watson,
Ryan Betson and Zach Jackson and Buddy Watson, of course. And one thing I said about that is how it just worked out perfectly for my consoles, where I've got my Xbox standing up, which I think is how that console looks best, and I've got my PlayStation sideways, which I think is how that console looks best, and that just worked out well for me. Yeah.
Have you gone back and played much on your Xbox?
Fuck no.
This week?
The amount of games I got coming out of my ass to try and play on a fucking PlayStation.
No, you've been having to burn through. That's the only thing. Like, I think this week, if I hadn't got the phone call for this, and I didn't feel kind of the responsibility to play and use it for the weekend and play Assassin's Creed because I've been excited for Assassin's Creed. I probably would have been finishing off Pathless and Sackboy a lot more. I need to get back on that because I'm close to finishing Pathless, and Sackboy's got a bit of work to do. But it's yeah, I like it as a console. I just wish there was more new games for it, as everybody does, as everybody does. Just wish that it was
I feel
more.
like you don't have to be afraid. Like as I said, it's whoever said that quote first about it feeling like upgrading your iPhone. That is literally what it's like, and I feel like I got the better case scenario because I got my Xbox first, which was like a nice dip in the toe for next gen, and then I got my PlayStation, and that was like brand new exciting. Whereas you've got brand new exciting, and then it's like a new iPhone.
No, the thing is, I'm still excited for it. I'm still like it loads really fast. I think Assassin's Creed might not be the best game for me to be playing on it, just to feel next gen.
Well, apparently it doesn't run very well on Xbox Series X at the moment.
I haven't had any problems except for loading screens. There are actually loading screens, which I'm a little bit like when I've been playing on the PlayStation 5, where everything I've been playing on that console minus Bugsnax just doesn't have loading screens. Yeah. It's a bit like, the fuck is this? Like, why am I...
Well, I think it has loading screens on both, but they are faster on PlayStation, according to the Digital Foundry video.
Digital Foundry video. Yeah. That's fine.
Who are unbiased and definitely weren't...
Everyone on the fucking internet's yelling at them because they did a video where they're like, look, it seems to run at times and it drops to like 40 frames per second on Xbox and a lot of like the heavier scenes, and on PlayStation it drips to like 59, 58 in those same scenes. And they were like, this is how it is. And then people get on Twitter and they're like, Digital Foundry is fucking biased. I'm like, their whole channel is literally about unbiased. Here's some footage.
Unbiased. No, it's fine. Like, literally, even though you would tweet me like, hey, even though PlayStation 5 it runs crappy,
I put the upside down face.
Xbox it runs crappy.
That means it was a troll.
And I was like, I know. But I'm like, I don't mind. I'm like, I've committed to playing it on the Xbox. Like, as having that thing to play.
You had to justify it. Yeah.
No, actually, Hobbs.
That's what you said leading into it.
Shut up.
I think in the long run, for most people, having the frame rate drop to 40 in some scenes, if that's the worst of it. Apparently, it's got some major screen tearing and cutscenes. It weirdly just hates cutscenes apparently on Xbox compared to PlayStation.
Oh, really? I've not had any of them.
It has like it like randomly skip like one frame every now and then or something during certain cutscenes they found. Okay. Anyway, I think in the long run, obviously, it's not running at like 20 frames per second, so it's not the worst case scenario.
Fantastic.
I personally just found it funny because Xbox and Ubisoft teamed up and they're like, play it's best on Xbox.
Yep.
I mean, the funniest thing is that the only thing they showed for ages was cutscenes. So
that's No, you should definitely you should download Forza.
But yeah, when I have time to jump back in, I might just dedicate some time to flick through some games and play different stuff. And like that was just Game Pass is really awesome. I just wish I had more time to play games. Maybe once things slow down and I get through the immediate backlog that we have from... Yeah. Where even stuff like, even though I don't think it has an enhanced version, I downloaded Final Fantasy 15 on the console because the Royal versions that are on Game Pass, and I've never fully played that game. And I was like, yeah, that's cool.
You're not going to.
Isn't the Royal version in the PS Plus?
It's in the PS Plus collection as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say... If you're only playing Assassin's Creed, even though you're enjoying it, I'd say you haven't experienced.
No, I need to play some other stuff, and I'll chuck on Forza and stuff when I've just
or even Gears 5 apparently plays.
I have Gears downloaded as well. Yeah,
at 4K 60.
Everything.
Now, so.
The only thing that was annoying, and I couldn't find the section of Game Pass that would just tell me where the enhanced stuff was.
You can click the category button, and then it'll say to show only Xbox Series X enhanced. It's one of the options in the features. And also you can tell because obviously if you just scroll through the entire Game Pass library, the games that are enhanced have like a logo over their box.
Yeah, have the logo. So I went through and did it with the logo. It was just that's cool. I need to play it some more.
There's not many enhanced games at launch anyway. I think
there's only 10, 8 or something. Yeah. Like it's not amazingly big, but it's getting there.
All right, so what do you love about Assassin's Creed then, like console side?
I'm just really enjoying it. I think the exploration feels really good, especially with them going this more, I don't want to call it minimal route, but they're just being dots on the map. That's just like, okay, wealth's over here. The first 6 hours is like a prologue. Like I literally have only just got to England.
Yeah, because the first part, I haven't started yet either, by the way. But the first part's in, you're still in the homeland, whatever. I'm meant to make a name. In Northland, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like you start there and you play through there and you play through a section there, and that is a whole unto itself open world for you to explore. Not as big as England, of course, but there are several like islands and peninsulas for you to go to, and synchronization points are back with a vengeance, being these grand kind of massive locations. Like literally, it took me yesterday like 15 minutes to climb up one because it was just a very tall mountain. And I was like, fuck yeah. Climbing feels really good because they've just gone... So they've done Breath of the Wild climbing, pretty much. Like you can pretty much climb up any wall.
Is it because you put your axe in the shit or something?
No, you just climb it and they find handholds and stuff. Like there's no... But you don't have a stamina bar. So you just can climb forever. So you could just like... the only annoying thing I'm finding so far is the counterpoint to the minimalist stuff is the fact that so it'll just give you a general location, but then when you get to the location, you'll find that like the thing is either underground or inside a cavern or hidden somewhere, and then you spend the next like 10-15 minutes running around trying to find an entranceway or some way to get something. Like there's no guide or no
had
kind
that
of
in Odyssey as well when I was playing it. Similar sort of thing, especially if it was in a cave, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm on top of a mountain, so the entrance could literally be anywhere around me.
Anywhere here. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay. But the side, like the random stuff you find in the world is just very random and very fun. Like they're called mysteries, but they are like little kind of random stories that happen or little events that happen in the world. I just ran into a guy who got drunk off eating some berries and had to protect him from fighting random people and running into random settlements, starting fights. So that's fun. Being a Viking is fun. The combat feels like it's gone a little bit backwards almost, I want to say, in terms of like how difficult it is. Like it's pretty straightforward so far. But overall, I'm just really loving the Assassin's Creed nature of it. Like I love the story, the Norse mythology behind it. Once again, much like the Odyssey, you kind of have to, it really embraces the fact that it just accepts that Norse mythology is actual historical.
Yeah.
And so there is gods and stuff, and there's Odin and stuff like that around. Like those are actual kind of interactions in the world.
Which version of Ivor are you playing as? Male or female?
So I'm playing the version that swaps.
What?
So there's
one that swaps?
There's a story plot point that makes it so that the version of Ivor cuts in and out during different sections of the game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So like some sections you'll be playing as female, and then and that's the
actual. There's two characters.
There's two characters. There's Ivor. There's female and male Ivor.
They're both called Ivor.
They're both the same character, but they're both the same character. They're just different genders. And like they randomly explained at the start that there's two different DNA strands here, and so but it hasn't been fully explained.
Animus is fucking up. I gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is like you so that's the actual recommended way to play it is to have you swap between the different genders of Ivor throughout the game, which I've just left it as. So far I've only played as female Ivor, and I really like her as a character. The one thing I will recommend to people, if you haven't finished Odyssey, go watch a video somewhere of just like to explain what the fuck's happened.
Is that to do with the current story or the like?
Yeah, the modern day story and stuff like that. Like I had to go watch like a 15-20 minute video just to be caught up on everything with it because I was like,
Atlantis.
They're talking about stuff or mentioning
they
stuff.
They should have had like a previously on, like at the beginning of Spider-Man.
No? Assassin's Creed's way more convoluted though than freaking Spider-Man. It is a bit all over the place.
I feel like hopefully I'd be okay by the time I start it because I played Odyssey this year. So I don't know if I'll get Assassin's Creed overload.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's just a matter of, oh, okay, that's happened and she has that thing now.
The spear, right? Is that
yeah.
See, I remember. So I already know.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember.
Yeah. Atlantis and shit, man.
But at the same time, playing this also part of me is like, man, if I ever have time, which I never will, I really do want to go back and properly play Odyssey or plop and play.
How far did you get in Odyssey?
Odyssey was a good 30 hours. 30
okay, so you got like halfway.
Yeah, like I got halfway. Like, no, I remember I cracked the shits with Odyssey because I got to the reveal of who her father was and I was so pissed off by it, I put the controller down and stopped playing because I was like, that is such a bullshit and annoying answer to that question. Leave me alone. But yeah, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's there's a lot to explore. There's a lot to do. Being a Viking's really cool because you're a Viking.
Yeah.
And raiding villages and just being a lot more brutal in terms of your normal assassins who are very sneaky and feel the need to be stealthy all the time. Sometimes it's like, I'm just going to pull my longbow up.
How's it feel to have the blade back, by the way? That's the important thing.
It's cool. The blade back's very cool. It's very funny how they circumvent the whole, she just turns it around and is like, I'm going to use it this way so I don't have to lose my finger. Because, losing my finger seems kind of dumb. But it's good. I'm excited. The game itself is very interesting. Like gear in this game doesn't change as much. Like in Odyssey, you were always kind of changing gear and getting new gear and stuff like that. Apparently, in this one, it's more you get gear and then you just keep upgrading it.
Good.
So that's it. There's a lot more power. Like there's more power levels of this is how strong this is, or this is how difficult some of this stuff is. I was really pleasant. I'm really happy running around England now. Like I've done about an hour in England since. I do. I enjoy medieval England as a setting. I think it's really cool, and especially when you played in I can't remember if I think it's Norway. Especially when you played in Norway for so long, where it's very glacial. There's lots of snow. There's not many. As soon as you get to England, there's lots of greens and lots of sun, which obviously something happened between medieval England and now for the sun to go away. But no, it's very nice and very pretty to run around and explore.
Cool. Do you reckon you'll finish it by the time Cyberpunk's out? Or?
Fuck no way. That's the thing. After this weekend, I'll probably go back and finish off Pathless and finish Sackboy. Because Pathless for me is also very much it's annoying that Pathless isn't involved in any of the Game of the Year talks at the minute because I think it should be.
I think it came out.
It came out too late. Is the problem?
Yeah. Because I saw a lot of people being like, "Why isn't Astrobot nominated for best family game or whatever, like family kids game or something like that, or along those sorts of lines?" It's like, well,
I mean, Spider-Man got nominated for stuff, so
yeah, people probably had that earlier on PS4, so they could nominate it, whereas a lot of people probably didn't play Astro until after. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. Don't forget you can find us all on Twitter by heading to explosionhour.com/Twitter. You can let us know what you thought of the show. Mail explosionhour.com, subject line Arcade Couch. Head to our Discord, explosionhour.com/Discord. Find us all there and talk to us there. Do what you need to do. And until next week, same time, same couch. Bye.
I predict Kojima is going to be at the Game Awards on a Zoom chat.
We're going to have to do Rochambeau to see who gets first prediction so we don't someone gets the easy ones.
So we don't all make the same one? Yeah.
Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.